We're concerned that this government has not laid out the plan to address the gap in infrastructure and housing funding for Indigenous communities. That's a serious concern. We're concerned about the loss of 5,000 public sector employees. Serious concern as well. So we've got some serious concerns in this budget. There's things that we fought for, and we're going to continue to use our power as we have throughout this minority government to fight for Canadians, to make Ottawa work for you, to give you some relief. I'll do that again in French, then I look forward to your questions. Donc, on a forcé le gouvernement de mettre en œuvre des éléments dans ce budget pour aider les gens. Protection pour les locataires.
Protection for renters is something that we force the government to do. People who are living in fear of losing their homes or apartments, we have helped those people with the Renter Protection Fund. We also force the government to feed children at school. This will help children at school and take some of the burden off of parents' shoulders. We also force the government to make contraception free, in addition to medication and devices for people with diabetes. This will also help and will save millions of dollars for many people. We force the government to do that. If we, the NDP, had not put pressure on the government, the Liberal government and the Prime Minister never would have done that. So this is thanks to our efforts. But it's also important to note that Conservatives want to cut all of that. They want to cut pharmacare. They want to cut investments in daycare. They want to cut assistance for dental care, all of that. They also want to cut investments in health care. They want to privatize healthcare. We also have concerns with this budget. These concerns have to do with the fact that they're going to cut 5,000 public sector workers. They don't have a plan to fix the gap for infrastructure and housing for Indigenous communities.
Does the budget goes far enough to restore generational fairness?
No. And generational fairness is a serious concern. We got young people that are saying, students that I talk to, people in their 20s, people just graduating, even with good degrees, are saying, I'm never going to be able to buy a home. Forget that. I don't even know if I can afford to rent a home. When the average rent in major cities in our country is, for a two-bedroom apartment, upwards of $3,000 a month. How is someone supposed to afford that and still have money left over to pay the bills and be able to buy groceries? So it is a very serious concern that people have, that just 10, 20 years ago, maybe even further, 40 years ago, people could afford to buy a home on their salary, on working one job. And now people working very good jobs, multiple jobs, are saying there's no way for us to even afford rent and all the other bills that we have. So this budget does not address that, but specifically because the Liberals failed to address the major reason why things are so expensive, that's corporate greed. They did not take the opportunity to take on corporate greed with the wealth tax on the excess profits of oil and gas companies, of corporate grocery store companies that are making record profits. So they chose not to do that. Frankly, the Conservatives would never do this either. And New Democrats really were the only party.
That is NDP Leader Jagmeet Singh reacting to the federal budget. It's just being tabled in the House of Commons, claiming to have pushed the government on the introduction of a couple of things like the National School Lunch Program, for example, and pharmacare. But you can hear there in his last comments, Omar, also pointing out what they really tried to push the government on the revenue side, a new excess wealth tax or excess profit tax, as well as perhaps additional taxes for wealthy Canadians. They didn't get either of those things. The big question, of course, whether or not the NDP will support the budget. My money is on they likely will.